Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome in from around the world today. We've got such a huge audience joining us from all sorts of states and provinces across Canada and the US and beyond, and welcome into Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. If you're new to us, like so many of you are today, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. And you're catching us on a very special day. This is the first of a triple header of amazing broadcasts, all of which go to our YouTube channel, so you can check out this show in like 3 weeks or 3 years, anytime that suits, and share with your family and friends as well. And it's also very exciting because we are back live with our amazing friends at the Toucan Rescue Ranch. No partner has joined us in our 10-year history more than the amazing folks at the Rescue Ranch. They rescue, rehabilitate, and re-release injured animals in the Costa Rican rainforest and have all sorts of amazing animal ambassadors, including our sloths, which we are going to all meet today. I want to highlight too, we do have a Kahoot today. So between our talk and our Q&A, if you want to play along with a little 4-question quiz, you can pull up this game pin in a separate tab, and we'll get to that in about 20 minutes. Before I bring in Andrea at the ranch, I want to do a special shout out to Mrs. Seeley's class, where they all have these little sloth stuffies. You guys are so cool. I love the sloths. Way to go, everybody. That is awesome. We'll come back to you guys for Q&A in a bit, I promise. But I'm going to turn you over to Andrea, who's going to blow your minds with some epic sloth stuff. So thank you so much for joining us live in San Jose, and welcome to the broadcast. Hey.
Hi, Jesse. It's good to see you, and it's good to see everyone and have you all joining from all across the States and also Canada. So as Jesse was saying, we are here at the Toucan Rescue Ranch in Costa Rica. And so the Toucan Rescue Ranch is both a rescue center and a wildlife sanctuary. So as a rescue center, our main goal is to rescue, rehabilitate, and release the animals after they've gone, treatments or after they have grown, because we do rescue a lot of orphaned animals over here. So we, teach them how to be wild again, and then they are sent back into the wild. And then some animals, unfortunately, are not able to make it back into the wild because of behavioral issues. They don't know how to hunt. Maybe they are not prepared for a life in the wild. Some of them were kept as pets as well. And so those animals lost their natural fear to people. And so we don't know what kind of person they can find out in the wild, right? It could be someone like us, conservationists, or it could be someone like really bad, like a poacher. So we don't want those animals to have that contact with people. And so for the animals that are not able to go back into the forest, we're going to provide them with a home for the rest of their lives. So one of the perks about the virtual tours is that I'm actually able to take you guys to both the rescue center, which is close to the public and it's behind the scenes, and also to the sanctuary. And so we're going to see some of the animals that are undergoing rehabilitation and some of the animals that call the Toucan Rescue Ranch their home. Of course, during these broadcasts, as Jesse already hinted, we are going to make it all about the sloths. And so we're going to see if they would like to come out. I actually have a friend sloth that is outside. She's my favorite. She's never outside. So I'm really excited that she's out. And this is mostly for you, Jesse, and the rest of our, followers and people that have been in other broadcasts. You're going to find these enclosures a little bit different. So let me change the camera. So this is our new addition to the Toucan Rescue Ranch. These are 2 amazing enclosures that we just built for our sloths. And so we've got our girls, Helga and Latte, right over here. And so we're going to be talking about them, and I'm actually going to be talking more about Helga because she's the one that is outside. I thought that Latte was going to be wanting to come out, but it looks like she doesn't. So whenever we're talking about sloths, there is so much to say about them. They are fascinating animals. And there's not a lot of what people know or learn about them in books, documentaries, the TV, and stuff like that. Most of what we learn is wrong about them. And that is very unfortunate because they're very misunderstood animals. Now, I'm very sorry beforehand because my camera is flipped and I cannot make it flip again. So if you see me that I'm trying to focus something and that's not what I wanted to do, it's backwards. So anyways, so again, this is Helga. Helga has been with us for about 5 years, same as I have been here. We arrived almost at the same time, so she's a very special girl. Now, she is a two-fingered sloth or two-toed sloth. I personally like to call them two-fingered, three-fingered sloths instead of two-toed, three-toed sloths, because all sloths, the reality is that they have 3 toes on their back legs. So right over here, you can see 3 and 2. Hello. Let me come over here. So you get to see 3 fingers or 3 toes right there. So if you remember, toes are on the back feet. Stop moving. So these 3 toes that she's got over here, that's from her back feet. And then you can see the 2 fingers right over here. So 2 fingers are in the hand. There's many other differences between the 2 and the 3-finger sloth. If you guys ever watched the movie Zootopia from Disney, Flash the sloth and the other sloths from the DMV, if I'm not wrong, they are 3-fingered sloths. So for some reason, the public likes the 3-finger sloths the most, to draw them, to put pictures about them all over the world, in movies and everything. And the 2-finger sloths are mostly forgotten. And personally speaking, I prefer the 2-finger sloths. I find them a little bit cuter. They also have this characteristic piggy snout that you can see right there. Hi. That the 3-finger sloths don't have. So 3-finger sloths, they've got like a black mask under their eyes that the 2 fingers don't have. And the 2-finger sloths, they've got like longer hair. They also have these pads on their feet and on their hands that the 3-finger sloths do have them, but they're always covered in hair. Are you gonna go outside? So I really like this enclosure because, of course, it's got, a roofed area, but it also has an outdoor area as well, where each of them has their own garden. So it's kind of like their backyard or their front yard, where they have grass, they've got access to sun and everything. So we're very excited that they're really liking this new space. To be honest, this might be almost the first time that I see her out exploring her yard. She has been doing it at night. So 2-fingered sloths like Helga, they are mainly nocturnal animals, which means that they are mainly active throughout the night. They can be active throughout the day, but mostly throughout the night. And so, yeah, whenever people talk about sloths, most of the times, if I tell you guys to think of one fact about sloths, most of you might be thinking, oh, they are the slowest animals on earth, right? Or, oh, they always have a constant smile on their faces. Or maybe it could be, oh, well, they sleep all day long because they're lazy. And those things are right, but wrong at the same time. So whenever people are referring to sloths as the slowest animals on earth, it should not be based on how they move. It should be based on their metabolism, on the way that they digest their food. Because their metabolism is what is extremely slow. It will take them about a month, from 20 to 30 days, for them to digest what they eat. And then they, go to the bathroom and mind their business, which they only do once a week or so. And so let's think of this. If you guys were, if you go and eat a hamburger today, or whatever you end up eating today, we humans, it takes about, a day or 2 for us to actually go to the bathroom and digest what we ate. If we were a sloth, it is going to take us about 20 to 30 days for us to actually go to the bathroom and digest what we ate today. So that's fascinating. So since, they mostly eat leaves, which is what she's snacking on right now, leaves are not going to give them a lot of energy or, a lot of calories or protein and everything. And so instead of them being lazy or instead of them being slow because they want to, they're actually slow because they choose to be slow. it is a way so that they can conserve and they can save as much body energy as possible for them to live their day by day. And so if they needed to move fast because, I don't know, there's a predator, or because I go and try to touch Helga because she's not going to like it, she's going to move very fast and she's going to try to defend herself against me or against any other predator. So I'm going to give you guys some homework. I want you to, after, the virtual tour and everything, to go on YouTube and type in sloth versus ocelot, and that's one of my favorite videos to show. So it was taken on a camera trap somewhere in South America, most likely Brazil if I'm not wrong, and it shows an ocelot, a species of wildcat, trying to hunt a two-finger sloth. And in that video, I like to show it because it just shows how fast sloths can move and how aggressive and defensive they can be. So, of course, if there is a predator nearby, they, as a prey animal, are going to try to, defend themselves as fast as they can. So they're going to swipe at their predators pretty fast. And they also have very big teeth that are ever growing. I don't know if you guys already lost some of your baby teeth, and the tooth fairy visited you already. Unfortunately for the sloths, they don't get any visitors, any tooth fairy visitors, because they are already born with their adult teeth, and their teeth are never going to stop growing, kind of like rodents. And so every time they open and close their mouth, they're constantly grinding their teeth against each other, and they can be extremely sharp. So perfect to be able to defend themselves. Now, whenever you see a sloth and you see that they are, quote unquote, smiling, that's not the case. It may look like she's smiling right now, but the reality is that they don't have any facial muscles. So let's just try this. Everyone try to smile. Okay? Thank you, Jesse. Now try to frown. And try to appear like you're angry.
I can't be angry. Look how adorable the sloth is. I can't even.
I know, yeah, I get it. Now, a sloth can't do any of those facial expressions. We have a lot of facial muscles on our faces. Sloths don't have any. Actually, compared to most mammals, they have 30% less muscle mass, less muscles than most mammals, which is crazy. They can also have the ability to lock their tendons. There you go. So whenever they're hanging by their back legs or their front legs, just like what she's doing while she's scratching, she's not doing any strength. And she's not wasting any energy. She's just locking her tendons as if they were padlocks. And if you don't have the key, it's almost nearly impossible to open them. So, of course, she knows when to open them up whenever she wants to move, like right now. But yeah, that's really, really interesting about them. Also, whenever, you think of a sloth sleeping all day long, it's not really 20 or 20 plus hours a day that they sleep. They sleep an average of 10 to maybe 15 hours a day. So I don't know about you guys. I don't know if you have siblings, but my brother, he sleeps way longer than that. Also, koalas, they get to sleep about 20 hours a day. Lions and tigers as well. So they are the ones that sleep the most. Sloths, on an average, they don't sleep as much as we would think. I don't know, Jesse, if you want to start doing a round of Q&A before I take you to the rescue center side.
We'll do our Kahoot first, and then we'll start our Q&A as we head to the rescue center with the most scratchy sloth of all time. I want to tell you guys, as an audience, like, we've done so many programs. This enclosure is amazing. The fact that we're this up close and personal is really, really special. So thank you so much, Andrea, for all of this.
Yeah.
And, We'll begin with our little quiz for our audience today, as we've got a scratchy sloth. If you want to pull up this game pin, if you're new to Kahoot, the faster you answer, the more points you get. And what you win is Andrea and I's everlasting respect. So no pressure at all, but I'm going to bring this up for everybody, and we are going to do our little Kahoot quiz together. There's 4 questions in this. So feel free to join in with this game pin. We're going to give you guys a second to get in. And if you just want to yell out the answers in your class too, that is totally fine. We'll just play along with that. And then when we do our Q&A, our Pineland crew, you guys are going to be our first class with a query. And a few of our classes are having some tech issues. So if you want any problems with audio, so Mrs. Seeley's class, maybe our Price and Star group, you guys can share in the chat on the side as well. But let's get started and get underway with our Kahoot. You can sign in after we've gotten underway as well. Here we go. And if you want to give us hints, Andrea, or if the sloth wants to give us hints, that is totally cool as well.
Okay, sure.
Right. One more second. Number 1, where can sloths be found? What do we think of these places? Asia, Africa, Central South America, or Australia? Where are we now?
Where are we, Helga?
We had some questions about this already. So Costa Rica is where we are. Where is that? Is it in which one of those places? Get those answers in. 3 more seconds to go. Helga knows where she is, I think. Yes, Central South America.
Yay.
Way to go. Costa Rica, smack dab in the middle of Central America. Genius Sightline has our lead. Let's go to question 2. All right. Sloths use the bathroom several times a day. We talked about sloths' bathroom habits. Are they constantly going? We've actually had
a while.
Sloths. No, not multiple times a day, perhaps. Good questions coming in our YouTube chat already. Fantastic. All right. No, let's see. 37 answers in 1 more second. The answer is false. Yes, they go about once a week or so.
And fun fact, even though sloths live up on the trees, they have to come all the way down to the ground for them to go to the bathroom.
Yep, they don't hang up. They do it up there. There's lots of ideas on why that might be, which is interesting. But as we go to question 3, put those thinking caps back on. Sloths can actually have moss grow on their fur. Imagine if you could like grow things under your hair, could be green with moss. Can sloths do that? What do we think? 10 more seconds. I'm so excited for our Q&A and for you to see the sanctuary too. You guys are in for such a treat in a minute. All right. Good answers coming in the chat as well. The answer for this is yes, it is true. Ooh, what a mix.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely can have moss growing on their fur. Look it up online if you're looking at sloth versus ocelot.
Right, moss and algae.
Ooh, yes. All sorts of things. Little moss that live in and on them. All right, sloths make great pets and everyone should get one. They're pretty cute. What do we think? This is actually one of the key messages we want to make sure you all take home by the end of today's broadcast. Well, let's see. Helga is pretty adorable, but I don't think she'd make a good pet for lots of reasons. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Big teeth.
Correct. So big teeth, and we want to make sure wild animals stay wild. As you'll see, Andrea isn't stroking Helga. She's not petting her. This is an animal that we would want to release into the wild. We try to keep them as wild as possible. And there's something that you guys can do at home to help with this, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But Genius Sea Lion, you are our winner. Thank you so much for playing along. In fact, before we go to our Q&A, so Pineland, I'm going to come to you first, our 3s. But why? What's the problem with having sloths as pets?
Right. So there is a huge problem with the illegal pet trade now with the sloths. So you probably know sloths are super fascinating animals. They are very cute. Yep. And they are becoming more and more famous. So everyone wants to come to Costa Rica and see a sloth. But also, there's a lot of people that want to come to Costa Rica and other Central and South American countries to be able to pet a sloth. And that is certainly not a good idea. So most of the sloths in all of these pet stores, zoos, and places where they will allow you to hold them, to pet them and everything, which, hint, they hate to be hugged. They do not like it at all. Most of these places take the sloths and take the animals from the wild. So they come to places where we can find sloths in the wild naturally, and they're going to steal them from the wild. And so there's a lot of, illegal transportation, and the sloth populations are suffering right now because of that. And so every time you see a place that has direct interactions or you're able to feed the animals, it does not matter if it is a monkey, a toucan, a parrot, a lion, a tiger, a sloth, whatever animal, wild animal, you should not be supporting those places, because most of those places, they don't care about the welfare of their animals. They just want to profit, they just want money off of their animals, which is very sad.
I'm really glad we mentioned this. And again, one thing you guys can do as classrooms is not share pictures of people holding animals in the wild. It's just a really easy thing we can all do. Animals belong in the wild. Animals in zoos belong in their enclosures. So if you have pictures that you'd like of someone holding a sloth or some sort of cool creature, don't share those, because it helps promote the trade in animals like that. So that's something that we can all do from our homes. Great job, Andrea. All right. We've got so many kids, a bazillion classrooms, I think. So Pineland, I'm going to come to you guys first. If you've got a question for us, you can unmute your mic. Mrs. Brendage's class, if you want to unmute your mic too, in fact, everybody can unmute your microphones. It'll make it easier when we go to Q&A. But Pineland, hey guys, welcome in. Hey guys, welcome in.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. We have a question. Go ahead.
Hi.
Is Costa Rica the only place that sloths live?
Ooh. No, so that's a great question. So you can find sloths in other Central American countries and South American countries. So out of Central America, you can find the two-finger sloth like Helga, all the way up to some places in Nicaragua, then Panama, and some other countries in South America. And then with the three-finger sloth, at least the one that we can find here in Costa Rica, which is the brown-throated three-finger sloth, you can find it all the way up to some places in Honduras, Nicaragua, Panama, and then other South American countries. Actually, the brown-throated three-finger sloth is the species that has like the biggest distribution range. So they're found all across like all of these countries.
Yeah. Very, very cool. We've got some students in Nicaragua joining today on YouTube, so there you go.
Oh,
you can
nice.
go to your backyard and check out some sloths. All right, this is Brendage's class. Unmute, come on in and take us away. Hey, guys.
Hi, this is Mrs. Brundage. I just wanted to know where in Costa Rica you are.
Okay, so we are in one of our provinces, which is called Heredia, and specifically in a place called San Josecito, San Isidro, Heredia. So we're pretty close from downtown San Jose. San Jose is our capital city, and so we're pretty close to like the center. We are located in the Central Valley. We've got a huge national park behind us, which is called the Braulio Carrillo National Park. And then our release site, because we have two like sites, we have headquarters and the release site. The release site is located in Sarapiquí, which is on the Caribbean slope of Costa Rica.
Oh, I didn't know that's where your release site was. I was looking that up the other day. I'm heading across. Very nice. All right, Mrs. Seeley's class. So I think your audio is off. So I'm going to have you guys share in the chat, and then I'll come to you and have you on screen as I do that. But our Stevenson crew, I'm going to come and check in with you and see if we can do a question with your mic on. Unmute and come chat with us. Hello, Stevenson crew. Let's see. What's our question? Feel free to unmute the mic, and we'll go from there. Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, come on up.
What do sloths do when they touch the ground?
Ooh.
What do they do when they touch the ground? Well, so whenever they come to the ground, it's either to go to the bathroom, to pee and poo, but they can also, cross from one tree to another if there's no connectivity amongst the branches, because they prefer to be up on the trees. However, when they are on the ground, it's not like they walk like an ordinary, four-legged mammal like your dog or your cat. They actually they crawl, so they don't have that ability to, even though they're very, very strong, they're almost 3 times stronger than an average human. They're not able to stand up on 4 legs. They have to crawl a little bit more than walking or running. They definitely cannot run.
Got those big hook claws, so they don't really like to push down. One thing that's kind of fun is that sloths are really good swimmers. So one thing that a lot of people wouldn't expect, but it's kind of neat. Andrea, I will say, if you want to show us anything as we're doing our Q&A, we've got
Yeah.
Miss Seeley's class coming in a sec, but you're in our sanctuary area. Is there anything to check out before we head to Miss Seeley's class?
Yeah, of course. So I'm actually behind the scenes on the rescue center side, and I've got a snuggle of sloths, as some people have suggested calling a group of sloths. So these are some of our babies that are undergoing rehabilitation. So as far as I know, I don't know if something has changed, but we should have Chelo, Beshayer, Sayed, and Denahi around here. So I'm really bad at IDing these babies. If I'm not wrong, these should be maybe Besha. These should be Denahi. This could be either Sayed or Cello. Uh-huh. And no, this is actually Besha. Yeah, this is Besha.
Pretty adorable. My goodness, they're so cute.
But
Well-
these babies are undergoing the rehabilitation program, just like you guys. They are on elementary school. So before they get to go back into the wild, since they arrived as orphan babies, something happened to their mothers, or sometimes their mothers are not able to take care of them anymore. They come here, they have to go through school. So they go through the nursery and preschool. This is elementary school, where they start learning how to climb a little bit more. They get more leaves for them to munch on. And then they go to high school, and eventually they get to college or university back at our release site. So whenever they get to the release site, it is when they are fully ready to go back into the wild. They just acclimate a little bit more on their weather, because the weather at the release site is super different from the one that you can find in here. And so, yeah, they are almost halfway there.
Halfway there. Way to go, baby sloths. You're doing great. Mrs. Seeley's class, we'll check in. I think your audio's off, but we'll try for a question. Come on in. Nope. So your audio isn't working, guys. Share in the chat. Type in the chat. We'll just say hi there with all your baby sloths and sloths. You guys are amazing. So nice to see you all.
Oh, that's a big one.
I know. A bazillion sloths. We're going to head to our Bayside Public School crew, and I promise I'm coming to everybody. There's just a lot of you, which is great. Bayside, come on in. Take us away. Hey.
When sloths get born, do they ride on their mother's back like monkeys?
Yeah, cool question.
So instead of them being on their mother's back, they're actually on their mother's belly. So remember that sloths, they hang upside down. So if I was a sloth, I don't have a sloth plush here with me right now. But if my hand was a sloth, this would be their hands and legs. And so they would be hanging from upside down like this. And so the baby would be, on their belly, because it is safer for them. They can also camouflage a little bit if they are on mom's belly, because no predators would know that there's a baby on mom's belly. They can also be a little bit more, warmer when they are in mom's belly. And yeah, they are going to be there for about a couple of months first before they start getting a little bit more, independent and curious. Then they're going to start, exploring around. If mom was around here, then the baby would start going a little bit further away and then coming back to mom. And they're going to stay with mom for about a year.
Yeah. What a great question. We haven't had that one in a long time, Andrea. That's fun. All right. Mrs. Seeley's class, I'm going to take your question from the chat in a minute. Then we're going to Central Park, Mrs. Alfonso's class, and our horde of students in Mrs. Price and Mrs. Starr's class. So nice to see you all there. But Mrs. Seeley's class, they wanted to know how old the oldest sloth is.
So our oldest sloth is Milo, and he just turned 17 years old last March, in March 20th. So he is the oldest we have here. However, how long do sloths live in the wild? Unfortunately, we don't have a clear answer to that. There's no records of that, as no one has ever followed a sloth since the moment they are born till the moment they die in the wild. So we don't have a number. And there was a sloth on a German zoo. He passed away last year because of, natural conditions, and he was 54 years old. So hopefully, Milo is going to get to live up until his 50s. He would be an amazing ambassador for his species as well.
Super, super cool. I love when we get this query. It is so neat to highlight that that we don't know their age, and this is true of a lot of animals. So I'm glad when we get this every single time. Thanks, guys. All right, Central Park, unmute your mic. We'll come to you for a query. Take us away. Hey, guys. Let's see.
So what sound do sloths make?
Ooh,
That's a great question.
make the sound for us.
Yeah. So the baby two-finger sloths, like these guys, they have kind of like a bleat sound. So they sound like a goat. So whenever they're trying to call for their mothers, or in this case for us, that they're hungry or there's something going on, they're gonna do kind of like a sound. And then the adults, they can hiss, they can grunt, they can growl. They actually have a lot of different noises. And if they start hissing or growling, they are definitely not happy and they want you to back off. And then the three-finger sloths, they are less vocal than the two-finger sloths. They actually scream very, very loudly. You wouldn't even know it was a sloth vocalizing. Now, I cannot do that scream. That's a Groot one.
All right.
But yeah.
So funny. Thanks, Mrs. Shum's class. That's awesome. Mrs. Alfonso's class, we're coming to you, and then we're going to hope that the tech is working in our Price and Star class. I know you guys have had some tricky times today. Mrs. Alfonso's group, first graders.
Hi.
What do you want to know about sloth?
Do sloths live alone?
Do sloths live alone?
Yeah, great
They do. Yeah. So this is not the perfect example, of course, because you see a group of sloths right here. But in the wild, sloths are solitary. They can also be very territorial. So they're not going to want to share their tree or their territory with other sloths, especially if there's two boys on the same tree. Ooh, they're going to be angry at that. They can and will share their territory, girl and boy, and as many girls as possible for that one boy, because he is, the boys, they really want as many girlfriends as possible. But yeah, in this case, since we have all of these babies, of course, since we do not have mom over here, each of these babies is going to teach the other one how to properly behave like a sloth. Also, at this age, they would still be in mom's belly. So of course, since they don't have mom, they have one another to snuggle and to be warm. And so they start getting independent when they reach about a year old, and they start fighting a little bit more, which is completely normal. We actually like to see when they start fighting, because that means that they're going to be able to defend themselves very well. They're also going to learn manners from one another, because, again, we don't have mom over here. So in the case of the babies, it's good to have them in a smaller group, and then eventually they're going to just be, independent.
Yeah, what a great question, guys. We haven't had that one in a while. All right, we're going to head to our Star and Price class, and then we'll take a couple from YouTube, and then time flies and you're having fun. We've had so many great questions. What I'm going to encourage all our classes to do, write down your extra sloth questions, and we will inundate Andrea with a bazillion questions and take up her whole week with your sloth queries. We've also got a fun little survey at the end, too, if you're willing to fill that out. But Mrs. Price and Mrs. Star, fingers crossed. Oh, let's see who wants to work. Oh, my butt. There we are. Talk to me.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, so you're in and you can hear us, but your audio isn't working. So we're going to say a big hello to everybody. Hi, guys. You guys are so many and so amazing. And I'd love you to write your question in the chat on the side, okay? And we're going to take that one in just a second. But so nice to have you in so enthusiastically. You guys are amazing. Okay. From YouTube, we've got, from Miss Riddle's class, do you rehab adult sloths? And is that different than the babies?
Yes, we do rehab adult sloths. I'm actually going to head that way in case we can see one of them. So the sloths have to come here because of three main reasons. Electrocutions, which is very sad, because sometimes whenever they are out in the wild, they see, these power lines and these electrical wires. And unfortunately, they cannot tell the difference between a vine, an electrical wire, or a power line. And so as soon as they touch two wires, they get sadly electrocuted. So they get like burns all over and everything. They also get attacked by dogs, which is just as unfortunate. And they can also be run over by cars. And so, yeah, we have Rowan over here. So let me flip my camera again. There you go. So this is Mama Rowan. And I say mama because she gave birth here at the ranch. She arrived when she was pregnant. And she's not able to take care of her tiny baby because she is, still with a very reserved prognosis. She's doing better, but she's got her up and her down days. But she was electrocuted. And unfortunately, we needed to amputate her arm, so she's missing her left arm. However, she is super, super great at climbing with just 3 limbs. So that's something that we have learned about our, sloths for rehabilitation. They're still able to survive even if they're missing a hand or an arm or a leg, and they can be just as successful as a sloth with their 4 limbs. So yeah, fingers crossed for this little one. Hopefully she's gonna, make a full recovery, and she's hopefully gonna go back into the wild afterwards.
I will say for our audience, if you guys want to follow along with individual sloths or learn about the work that they do or contribute, we've had classes, I think, donate like $10,000 in our history to the Toucan Rescue Ranch. You can head to the website and do that and learn a little bit more. It's such a fun, amazing place. So do check that out. All right, we're going to take one from our Mrs. Price and Mrs. Star class. Great question. I'll bring you back on camera while I share your question. How many times a day do you feed the baby sloths? Is it like 50, 2, 109? What's the deal?
So since I'm not one of the sloth caretakers, I definitely, cannot share how exhausting that is. But I'm pretty sure that if I ask them, even though it's about like maybe 15 ticks per day, 15 feedings per day, I'm pretty sure that they would say, ooh, it feels more than 200 of them. So these babies, especially the ones that are in the nursery, we have to feed them almost every 2 hours. And it's a 24/7 job. And so, it's very tiring to take care of the baby sloths. Again, I'm not one to, actually talk about that because I've never taken care of a baby. I don't think I have the strength to be up at night. But I know that it is a very difficult job, and they really, really like to do that.
Very, very cool. We've had some of the amazing care team at the Toucan Rescue Ranch on in the past, and that is not an easy feat. So I'm really glad we got that question. All right, before we wrap up, we're going to take one from Miss Jasmine's class. Are sloths carnivores or herbivores, and how fast do they move? Thanks, Miss Jasmine.
Okay, I love that question. So 2-finger sloths are what we like to call opportunistic omnivores. So omnivore animals, they eat both meat, but also, plants in this case. And so 2-fingered sloths, 70% of their diet is based off of leaves, and the other 30%, it could be based off of eggs or baby birds or lizards or insects that they can find. So they are opportunistic because they're not going to go out and hunt like other predators. But if there was, a nest up on the tree and there was a sloth over there, they see the baby bird or the bird's eggs, they're going to go ahead and grab that opportunity and get to eat a little bit of protein. However, 3-finger sloths, like the one on this mural, they are mostly herbivores. So they only mostly just eat leaves and flowers, sometimes fruits.
Sometimes fruits. Fruits are delicious. There you go, kids. Eat your fruit and you can be like a sloth. Put some moss in your fur. And this has been so much fun. I know we could talk all day about sloths and the amazing work you do at the ranch. Again, I encourage all our classes, take the chance, email us. We'd love to hear more of your queries. Check out toucanrescueranch.org and the amazing stuff they have on social media. And Andrea, before we wrap up and say farewell and bring in our classes, is there any final message you want to leave us with about your work in the sloth?
Yeah, I mean, just as Jesse was saying, I encourage you guys to go and follow us on all of our social media platforms. We are literally everywhere. We also have a live camera with the baby sloth, so you can see all of that rehabilitation journey. If you go on YouTube and type in Sloth TV, it should be one of the first options to pop out. So it is a behind the scenes look. You can see the baby sloths as they are growing, they're being fed. You can count how many times they feed them throughout the day. So you can have an accurate answer of that. And if you're ever in Costa Rica, we're going to be more than happy to host you guys over here. Just like we're going to be very happy to have you over here.
Can't wait to come in June and see you in person for the first time. And it's just such a thrill having you on again. As you know, we're going to bring in all our audience to say a big thank you and farewell. And audience, stay tuned. We're going to send a little survey if you're willing to fill that out at the end as well. It does help us a lot. So Pineland, Mrs. Brendage's class, Miss Seeley's class, Stevenson crew, Bayside, there's so many of you.